Hi, this is Ron from Meteoron LLC and DLX Plugins, and today I'm going to show you the Settings tab in Highlight and Share. So one of the first things you can do when installing Highlight and Share is to enable your favorite social networks. So we're going to head to the WordPress admin and go to the Highlight and Share settings, and I'm going to show you around the Settings tab. So there are two ways to get to the Highlight and Share admin panel settings. One option is to go to the Settings menu on the left-hand side and click on Highlight and Share. Or you can be on the plugin screen and just find highlight and share and then click on the settings link there too. And then you'll be taken to the highlight and share admin settings. The first options in the settings tab allow you to control where highlight and share is enabled. By default, it's enabled for mobile devices, post content, and the post excerpt. So not all themes are compatible with post content, especially if you're using a block theme or a page builder. In that case, you can toggle post content off, which I have done here, and then I'll add in some selectors in the advanced section further down. I'll show you how to do that in a bit. Let's move on to text settings. In the text settings, you can set before and after text, which will insert characters around any shared text on the front end. So let's go ahead and add a before and after character and see how it looks. Back on the front end, when I share via any medium, the sharing text before and after should show up around the text. So let's just test Twitter real quick, and you can see I have the left and right carets, which are surrounding the text that I want to have shared. Back in the settings tab, let's start enabling or disabling any social networks. And let's start with Twitter. With Twitter, you can set a default Twitter username. So I'm going to go ahead and set that here. And you can also enable hashtags, which work similar to just regular tags. These hashtags can be set per post or page and will show up when sharing via Twitter. So let's see how that all works together. In the post editor, let's add some hashtags. Since this is a travel post, let's add a travel hashtag. So I'm going to go ahead and put travel here, and then we'll save the post. And let's view it on the front end. And now when I click on Twitter sharing, my username will show up here, and then the hashtag will show up here along with the tweet. So let's move on to the other social networks. As you scroll down the settings page, you'll see a variety of networks that you can enable or disable. And you can see that for each social network, you can configure a label and a tooltip. And on the front end, these tooltips will show above the social network when you hover over it. And this is really useful if you have an icon-only theme and the user doesn't necessarily know what the icons are. So let's go back to settings. And you can see that you can enable WhatsApp, Tumblr, Reddit, Telegram, LinkedIn, Zing. You can enable emails, which will allow a person to send out an email from the selected text. I'll show you more about that later. And you can enable copying of the selected text. And lastly, I'd like to go over enable short links. So Highlight and Share does try to shorten your URLs, especially if you're sharing on Twitter, which has a character limit. But you need a third-party URL shortening service like Jetpack Short Links or Bitly or something very similar. So next, let's go over advanced settings. I mentioned earlier in the video that sometimes there are themes not compatible with how Highlight and Share wraps the post content. Let me give you a quick example. This layout is a little messed up because Highlight and Share tries to wrap around the post content, and since this is a block theme, some of the classes just aren't compatible. So in this particular case, you would switch enable on post content off and save the settings. And then the front end should be back where it should be. But how do you get highlight and share to show on post content when you have the options switched off? And the answer to that is you can use the advanced selectors. With post content switched off, when you highlight text, the social networks will not show anymore. So how do we get these to show when post content is off? And the answer is these advanced selectors. And in this particular case, you can put in CSS class selectors, ID selectors, even elements. And if you need any help with this section at all, glad to help, just put in a support request. But basically, we need to find the class or the element that is surrounding the content. So I'm just going to do an inspect element, open up the developer tools. And what you want to try to do is find a container that wraps around the content. And in this particular case, it looks like it is entry content. So what I would do is I would grab entry content, I would paste it in the CSS class selector since it's a CSS class, and save the settings. Let's go ahead and refresh. And now you have the social networks back enabled on the post content without affecting the layout that you're seeing. One last tip I'd like to show you is how to enable highlight and share for comments. So by default, highlight and share does not work for comments. So we need to find a CSS class that is surrounding this comment area. And it looks like I have AST-comment content. I'm using the Astra theme, so AST is for Astra. And then I'm going to add that into CSS class selectors. It's just comma separated. Save those settings. And now we should be able to highlight and share text in the comment section. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching. In the next video, I'll cover how to configure how highlight and share looks on the front end.